is the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We're taking a look at the Friday two-game main slate eliminations potentially here in both games. In this on this slate, we have Cleveland going into Orlando. Cleveland holds a 3-2 lead in this series. We have LA going into Dallas. Mavericks hold a 3-2 series lead. So see if Cleveland can close it out on the road. Dallas closed it out at home. We had the Indiana Pacers beat the Bucks in their series here on Thursday. We saw the Celtics close out their series on Wednesday. So we are getting a clearer and clearer picture of what the second round of the playoffs is going to look like.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, could be even more clear if both teams, being Orlando and the Clippers, don't fend off elimination. Things could get even the picture can be painted even easier. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, Cleveland-Orlando series has been dominated by teams at home thus far. All 5 games have been won on home floor. Orlando is home in this one. Possibly no Jared Allen again. The report, which was kind of like bleak about how he caught an elbow, the report today was that there was something pierced by a Franz Wagner elbow in Jared Allen's rib. He didn't practice yesterday, or today rather, or yesterday, whenever you're watching this.
Sure.
So he's questionable again, but obviously we don't like that is a very I feel like wide open description.
Maybe some rib cartilage.
But nothing specific on the definition of a piercing,
Sure.
So we'll see if Jared Allen plays, but obviously that would be a big blow to them going into Orlando. And then Dallas blew the Clippers out. James Harden was awful. Paul George did not have a great game, and Luka did, and that Dallas went up 3-2. We'll see. The Clippers have stolen a game. This has been a back and forth series. They already won 1 in Dallas. The Clippers have won 1 in Dallas. Dallas has won 2 in LA. So we'll see. Both series, I think, still hanging in the balance. We'll see if either team can close it out here.
Yeah, let's start off in Cleveland or Orlando, where the home team has held serve all series long here. So we'll see if Orlando keeps that trend going. Cleveland just got out with a win the other night, 104-103 final. Paolo Banchero monster game for Orlando in that one. Cleveland, with no Jared Allen, they got good production from the guard play. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland kind of led the way there. The starting lineup, all the starters played big minutes except Isaac Okoro. That's because we saw Marcus Morris play, was it 26 or 27 minutes, I think it was, in that game. Seemingly without Jared Allen, that's the route they may be going to match some size and toughness against Orlando.
Yeah, so I do think Marcus Morris would easily be one of the best values of the slate at $3,300. You're only playing Marcus Morris if – so I do think – so here's what I think could happen too, John. We saw Georges Niang DNP this game.
Yeah.
He had been terrible. It's we've talked about it. He has not made a shot, right? All series. I think there's a case Morris is in the rotation regardless. Sam Merrill played 5 minutes and Tristan Thompson played 8 minutes. Those 13 minutes, if Jared Allen's back, can easily float to Marcus Morris, who was obviously a difference maker in game 5. So I'm not ready to rule Morris out of the rotation completely. I think in all likelihood he's playing regardless. Obviously a lot less if Jared Allen's in.
Right.
If Jared Allen's out, Donovan Mitchell 8,400 in tournaments. He briefly left that game, was really bad for 3 quarters, was really good in the 4th quarter. He was a difference maker in the 4th quarter of that game. Evan Mobley was just very good throughout, had the game-saving block on a Franz Wagner drive.
Yeah.
And, you and I both have talked about it. That's the depoy loading there, as long as he can maintain the games played quota moving forward.
Yeah.
But If there's no Jared Allen, he'll be one of the more popular plays of the slate. Never really get an increase in like points necessarily, but he's just so much more active
Yeah, he does
everywhere.
everything else, yeah.
Darius Garland, obviously, they've been asking for him to be better. They kind of took the reins off the 32-minute cap, played 39 minutes, 37 fantasy points. Probably a little sad for people that rostered him that he only finished with 23 actual, considering 17 of them came in the first quarter. Uh,
Yeah.
can definitely get to Garland. Strus was really awesome playmaking. Finally made some shots too. So I think all four of those guys would be really, really hard to pass up on if there's no Jared Allen. Jared Allen obviously muddies that water a little bit. You can probably get to any of them. But if Jared Allen plays, one, do you think there's a limit? Two, wouldn't we play if not, then wouldn't we just play Jared Allen for $300 cheaper than Evan Mobley, considering how well he's played in this series?
I would think so. I mean, we've seen the ceiling, but I guess my worry is like, conditioning. If he takes them, that they're going to be testing those ribs on him.
Yeah.
They're going to be throwing some sneaky elbows, some dirty boxing, going on when he's posting up down low, and that could take him out of the game if they hit him in the right spot. So
Sure.
those are definitely concerns for me if he's not even practicing right now.
Yeah, didn't practice. So maybe we'll see if he's gonna get on the floor at all. But I think it is, worth mentioning. Him on the floor obviously hurts everyone else. Like Strus has been really good this series, but 6 rebounds. The two games prior he had 1 and 1. I know he had 9 in the first 2 games, but Jared Allen obviously being there doesn't help him have 6 and 9 rebounds and the
Right.
5 assists. Like the ball's in his hands more. 16 points is probably less shot time. So I think there is a lot to like if Jared Allen's out. Obviously, you mentioned Marcus Morris. I would, by the way, not play Isaac Okoro at $3,500. Even if he's starting again, I would rather just probably play Marcus Morris for 200.
Agreed. Orlando side, I mean, Paolo, another one of those games.
Yeah.
Really down game 4. Had some strong games, in the initial game in Orlando. Really been just, number one pick, right? These are the moments you need him to step up. Nearly got it done, nearly stole a game in Cleveland on his shoulders here. We'll see if he can stave off elimination at home.
Yeah, I have absolutely no problems getting to Palo. If we're gonna get nearly 60 fantasy point upside in 2 games this series, then you can definitely get to Banchero, 83. You could definitely get to Franz, who was fine again, like from a fantasy standpoint, didn't make any shots, but just the fact that he can get you 32 fantasy points on a night he goes 3 for 11, and he's gonna play 40 minutes. Like this is an elimination game for Orlando. Like
Yeah.
they're going to play Paolo, Franz, Jalen Suggs 40 minutes, right? You're going to get Wendell Carter if he was as good as he was in game 4. You're going to get Wendell Carter again for big minutes. You're going to get Jonathan Isaac was the closer for this team. He closed over Gary Harris. Not the best game, but when you look at how his minutes shook out, he played 11 of the 12 fourth quarter minutes. So they're going to go to that bigger lineup, especially if Jared Allen's there.
Right.
Like they'll just play the Isaac Wendell Carter lineup because at that point, like Gary Harris is fine as a perimeter defender, but if Gary Harris comes out and doesn't make shots like he did last game, he's not playing because they need him to space the floor. If not, why not just put more length on the floor? So I could definitely see myself getting to Isaac 42. Mo Wagner in tournaments. We've talked about a bunch of series. Markel Fultz was good again for a third straight game. Was really, really active on the floor. $3,200, 15, 18, 13 fantasy points. Like, wouldn't hate that as a punt because, like, Orlando has not shrunk their rotation. And I think, you can play Jalen Suggs off the ball if you have Fultz on the floor, like, handling. So, I would rather like the 2 bench plays for me in this spot would be Fultz, would be Mo Wagner. Well, 3, I guess. Mo Wagner,
Sure.
Fultz, and Isaac. I was just like assuming Isaac was, like we don't need to talk about Gary Harris. Jonathan Isaac's like Clayton.
Right. Agreed. And the Fultz, obviously, if he pulls off another 18 fantasy points like he did a couple games ago,
Right.
You're way ahead of the game there. Clippers Dallas. We were all about George and Harden after their performances the game prior, and then they they go and lose by 30. I think it was right.
Yeah, a lot. It was a lot.
Go lose by 30 there in at home. Now they go on the road to try to not be eliminated here. Harden obviously was good in Dallas in their win. He had 56 fantasy points, 33 actual. It's been good all series. So, just a low light game, bounce back. I think you got to give him and George the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah, I would be surprised if people just don't play him in this spot because yeah, they both had relatively bad games. Like Paul George, 4 for 13. Yes, he doubled. He was the fifth highest scorer on the slate at 35 fantasy points. That's how low scoring of a slate it was the other night. Luka outscored everyone by 20 fantasy points. So if you didn't have Luka, it was just curtains, right? I'm going right back to the well. It's not like the numbers have shifted for these guys. They are high usage players that nearly average 1.3 fantasy points per minute without Kawhi Leonard this year. So Harden and George, I think, are two core plays once again. You got to have a goldfish memory. You just said it. James Harden's been amazing this whole series. He had a bad game. Paul George, I will say this: Dallas has put Derrick Jones Jr. on Paul George, and Derrick Jones Jr. is defending his ass off, really well. James Harden seeing a lot of different defenses, mainly Kyrie, but PJ Washington being switched on to him is obviously a length issue because PJ is so big. Yeah, Dallas has adjusted well, but I'm not necessarily just looking at last game and being should have seen this coming.
Sure.
Why? Why would we have seen this coming when they've been so good all series? They're without Kawhi Leonard. It's a recency bias thing that I'd be willing to go right back to the well.
Sure. Going off of Jordan Harden, you have Zubats, Westbrook, the guys coming off the bench there. Norm, obviously, 25 minutes. We were in on Terrence Mann, played 32 minutes. Now he's questionable for this game. The minutes have been great. Production's been good for him of late. I don't really care for Amir Coffee all that much. I mean, what are the next, plugs for you on the Clippers here?
So I'm still in on Zubats, and I know he was kind of bad-ish, but he wasn't. I mean, 26 minutes, 27 fantasy points. He's averaged a fantasy point per minute this series. Yeah. 4 fouls was mostly in the second half of this game. He dominated early. He's eight of the first 10 points for the Clippers, and obviously slowed down a little bit after that. But he put they play Gav for 2 minutes. Zubac scored all those points. They're we can't do this anymore. So I don't think they really have a matchup for Zubac. I'm willing to go there. Westbrook was really, really bad again. He is just not. This is not the series for Russell Westbrook, and I don't think this would even be. I'd assume it'd just be Norm starting for Terrence Mann if he can't go. I think Mann plays because he got hurt in the middle of that game. You saw him wincing, still played through it, and then obviously the blowout.
Right.
And they take everyone off. Yeah. I would assume it'd be Norm. He looked better, very in terms of aggressiveness in Game 5. 12 shots in 24 minutes is obviously ideal. That's the Norm Powell that we saw all year long. Every time you suggested Norm, this is what we were getting. We were getting double-digit shot attempts off the bench. Yeah. So if there's no man, you just have to assume that we're going to get Norm in the starting lineup. I don't know what they would do, though. If you lose the Terrence Mann minutes, that's where things get really interesting because they could, in theory, just extend Amir Coffee because he hasn't, but he's such a he has been such a zero this whole entire series. Maybe you see Bones Highland as a hey, can you give us a spark off the bench? Because we know Bones can score. There's Brandon Boston, and honestly, the answer here is probably PJ Tucker would probably be the guy that they.
I pulled him up. I'm when are you given the magnitude of the series? I'm just trying to get a little more toughness and rebounding or something like that.
You probably go PJ Tucker in that route, but obviously we'll have to wait and see if Terrence Mann's in or out because obviously that's just
Agreed.
If Man's out though, like another situation, I told you the Clippers were my favorite stack the other day. That wouldn't change it because that's another body down for the
Yeah.
Clippers. And now it's like, well, now how many minutes is Norm going from? How many minutes is Norm going from? Is he going from when he
I mean,
played
he
30?
played over 30 in the first couple of games in the series. I mean,
Dude, he's played 30 in 3 of the 5, right? One of them he played 26 because he shot 2 of 10. One of them he played 24 because of a blowout. He's playing like 40 minutes if there's no Terrence Mann because there's just no way they can extend Amir Coffey with how
right.
he's playing. And realistically, like how many more minutes can you give Westbrook when he's been playing this poorly? So I would just go right back to the well on as many Clippers as possible, especially if Terrence Mann is out. Slight hat tip to Plum Dog, who again plays he's operating as their backup center. 14, 16 minutes the last 2 games, 19 and 11 fantasy points. Another like punt that could find his way into.
Sure. Dallas, Luka, Kyrie, PJ Washington. Who else?
Derek Jones.
Derek Jones.
And Derek Lively. The Derricks. Derek Jones, another really, really good game. Everywhere. Made threes again. When he makes threes, he's really hard to guard. And then Derek Lively was amazing off the bench for them. They went to him very fast, and he was very good defensively, very good on the glass. Foul trouble early, hit 3 fouls in the first half. And then where were you when Maxi Kleber broke the slate, John? Because Maxi Kleber hit 4 threes in a row in the first half and opened the game up. He's been closing games. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm actively looking to play Maxi Kleber, but I am interested in Luka, Kyrie, obviously at the top. You mentioned PJ. PJ, honestly, not even as much as the Derricks because there's such a salary relief off them, and he is exerting a ton of energy on the defensive end of the floor right now, just given having to guard Paul George and James Harden a lot. So I would say I'm very much interested in the Derricks after.
I like the Washington bench stare down, right? Man, telling him stop staring at my bench, and he's like, "Oh, okay, no problem." Stares directly at them.
Yeah. Salute to PJ for that. I mean, he's defending
Yeah, I mean, he just had a bad shooting night, right? If he had his regular shooting night, he's going to do 20 fantasy points. So, but I agree. Obviously, getting a discount there, and we don't need to go into the extent of why you'd play Luka or Kyrie Irving in this slate. So. You said the other day that you'd take Irving for price point. Obviously, Kyrie went.
That did not work. I mean, it did not work. It did not work. Luka had a game. Luka had not shot the ball well, and then he shot the ball well, and look what happens, right? He was 35. He would not have sat if that game was competitive. He would have just played all 48. So, or would it have been all 48? No, he sat in the second. He would have just played 40. Just 44 minutes.
Sure.
Only 4.
All right. Let's get this going. Where are we starting lineups?
What do you think that we need Luka? Because we can comfortably build Paul
what's
George.
What's your go-to value here today then? Let's start with value, then we can kind of build upwards.
Norm?
Wendell Carter.
44.
Okay.
John Isaac 42.
Going some more Orlando plays. So Carter.
Derek Jones 46.
Isaac Jones.
That would probably be your core those are probably your core true values. And then obviously if Jared Allen were to sit, Marcus Morris is plug and play because he's a bucket if that happened. If that situation.
I mean, he's not practicing. I have to assume he doesn't play.
He did not. No, he did not practice.
So. All right. So we get 7,200 for we'll throw Luka at the point guard position for a shooting guard, a guard, and a util.
PG.
6,500 guard and util. So if you went Norm, I'll give you 81 for util. Should be Mobley or Wagner.
Yeah, I'm good with either. I'm good with both those guys.
All right. Example line, but $800 left over, and you get yourself some Luka Doncic. Doncic, George, Morris, Isaac, Carter, Powell, Jones, and Mobley. You can move things around. I don't know, 57. Do Suggs over Powell probably, or Strus over Powell?
Suggs. Yeah, Suggs going to play for it. He's going to play for it.
Yeah, there you go. Doncic, George, Morris, Isaac, Carter, Suggs, Jones, and Mobley. There are no money left over. That's your 2-game breakdown here for Friday. First round is ending on Sunday, I believe. So you'll have second round action.
Second round starting on Saturday.
Second round starting on Saturday. There you go. So you'll have second round action here next week, and maybe you'll still see James and I.
Maybe
we'll see. It all depends. You guys keep watching. We'll keep doing it. How about that? We'll do it with you guys. So we appreciate all the support here again this year. If you haven't already hit the like button, do so. You know where to get us on Discord and on Twitter. Give us a follow. Hang around. Enjoy the playoffs. We'll catch y'all later.